Good morning, everybody. It is the last day of the trade week, and it is the first day of June on this first day of June 2018. And happy Friday, happy non farm payroll day. That is what's going on. There is some indications that we're going to have a good NFP report because President Trump just tweeted, "Can't wait to see the employment numbers." So, or the job numbers or whatever it was he said. So, pay attention to that. That has already moved the markets a lot. So, we'll see if there's any retracement that may or may not be seen here. We're just going to continue to watch this play out as we go. Certainly, we want to be aware of our positions when we're in non-farm payroll. If we're in positions already, that's one thing, but taking new positions right at the open is kind of, well, it's not kind of, it is really risky to do. So we want to be careful about that. If we look at the price action over the evening, we can see that we had a bit of a rally in like the pound and the euro, but those have since come off their areas. And I really want to point out one chart that should be very dangerous looking, and that's the euro dollar. That is a very ugly looking chart. This is a very awesome looking chart, the dollar yen. But if we look at the euro dollar, we are below this angle. And I have been talking about how this is going to be a tough zone to be trading in. I know it's been a tough trading zone for me this week, but finally probably seeing this play out the direction we want it to go. And there's just a lot of risk and really high reward in this entire zone that we're trading. So if we stay below this angle, all right, if we stay below this, if we close below this on the daily, we're more than likely going to see the 108 zone. And again, if you are listening to this right now and you're coming in early, I did start a little early because of the non-farm payroll coming out in about 13 minutes. I think it's always important to review some of these trade opportunities that we may see as we are looking forward into the morning. We can do a quick review of our charts here. Let's pull up the Ichimoku. Kind of working our let's work our way back from what we were looking at. So on the 4-hour Ichimoku, we had a short on the euro dollar where we wanted to go short at 116 if we drew back to that zone, which we did not get. And then we also had one on market geometry as well, where we want to go short 1642, which we did not get. So what's interesting here is if I'm looking at just the market geometry and I'm looking at the Ichimoku system on the 4-hour, I see that price was ejected right at the top of the 4-hour cloud. So that's an important thing to notice. And we've fallen back down below the conversion line. And then right below us is the baseline and the major harmonic level of 1625, which is probably where we are going to be heading. Then we had a short on the pound where we wanted to go short at 132.82. Sorry, 132.87, which we did get, but the pound kind of rallied over a little bit, but now it's certainly peeling some off from its gains, which we should expect. It was certainly very silly extension this morning. It turned out to be a pretty easy short I caught on this morning. If we look at it from this perspective, again, using the market geometry, when you traded up to the 45 and we were very high in the stochastic and the composite index, that turned out to be a very good short opportunity. And it looks like we may see another leg down in the pound as we are moving forward here. And then on the Dollar yen, we wanted to go short at 108.65. Obviously, that did not pan out. Gold. Gold is the trade that we are looking at participating in the short. If we can close below, look at this trend line that it's testing. That's very, very dangerous zone for gold to be looking at. We could certainly see us fall pretty low here. With a total drive down, I mean, this could be pretty ugly. Kind of sad I closed my gold short earlier. Oh well. Okay, so we've got 10 minutes left on this before the NFP comes out. And we are seeing extensions going. See, then we also had, okay. Yep, just looking at this gold trade set up here. Really paying attention to this angle where we're looking like it wants to cross below. That would be pretty bearish. Pretty damn bearish. Let's switch on over to the hourly. Beautiful breakout in the dollar yen. Aussie dollar has sold off quite a bit. New Zealand dollar, very similar, still not as fast as its peers. The pound dollar showing a little bit more weakness here. Euro, really want to observe how we trade up against her when the news comes out. Certainly on the 1 hour chart. So we're inside the cloud right now. Really not determined whether this is held as support. The top of the cloud here still could hold as a support area. We just got to see if that is actually going to be a scenario that plays out or not. Otherwise, we should observe some nice activity to the downside if everything plays out well, which sometimes things do and sometimes things don't. Keep our eye out for all of those. Eight minutes till NFP. We could see a real continuance of a lot of these moves starting today. Looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin had a little bit of a drop here of right at the end of the hour at 6 o'clock, and now we've had some type of structural bounce. We're still holding above this angle, and it remains to be seen if this is actually going to be a bull flag or if we are or a bear flag, or if we're going to actually have a trade where we can move higher in price here. If we're going to break out above that 75.62, that's what we need to be paying attention to in Bitcoin at least. Ethereum is getting close to the top of its angle. Litecoin, really no change at all in what it's doing. Take a quick peek at gold, a little bit of a bounce there. But certainly on the hourly, we have a clear sell signal on the hourly. And then if we look at the 4 hour, we are not quite there yet. We want to see price. I mean, we have two conditions coming up on three conditions met where, again, the rules to go short is the cloud in front has to be red, which it's not yet. The conversion line needs to be below the baseline, which it's not yet. Price needs to be below the cloud, which it is, and the lagging span needs to be below the cloud, which it isn't. So I don't know what I was saying. We only got a couple conditions met or one condition met rather, for a short. We need all four to be met, and that's why we're waiting for a clear break of the cloud in both the lagging span and price. 5 minutes until NFP. Ooh, gold taking it on the chin there just a little bit. A little push down. UJ, Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar may be entering a short trade again. Very typical bear flag that we've got formed up here. Pound dollar coming off of those highs. Ooh, gold, man. Looking like we're gonna fall apart. Although this was a scenario we were looking at. We discussed this, I think maybe on Monday or last week, where I had drawn this and pointed out that we could very well see these types of moves where we trade up a bit up on the arc here. But the closer we get to the top of this arc and this angle, there's always going to be some stiff resistance there and some continued selling pressure we've got going on. There's been a lot of gold bulls that have been caught up in a false move higher. I was even considering changing the bias a little bit, but I did not. The dollar yen. Ultimately, what we really need to do for the dollar yen to be considered, back into a trade higher is we need to really break that 109.58. That needs to be the zone that needs to be crossed. 4 minutes until NFP. Aussie dollar has come back down to this trend line, and now we're going below it. If we come back down below this trend line and back down to 75, we're probably not going to hold it. 75 will probably not hold. New Zealand dollar resting on this angle. This is a 1x2. Pound dollar back below the 45. Trying to find a little bit of support, but ultimately just looking at all of our indicators here and just looking at some inherent weakness. So 3 minutes until NFP. Three minutes. And then we'll kind of take a look at how everything is going. Just said good morning to everybody in the chatterbox. Chatterbox. Two minutes till NFP. Dollar yen looks like it's going to strive for a higher move here. Gold, oof, man, moving lower. Gold is moving lower. That's the move we've we've been looking for, this move in gold for a while, where we really want to see this just really have a strong continuance down. We really want to see that drive lower. It's hard to determine, with Trump's tweet telling us basically that we have a good report coming out, it's hard to determine whether or not that's going to add fuel to these moves that exist already, or if it's going to, or if it's quote unquote, some of it is priced in, we have a pullback. But that's going to be the hard thing to figure out. Sort of just kind of looking at the charts here. Gold really trying to stay above this trend line, and having a lot of difficulty. It's finding support on it, but this is who knows what's going to happen there. pound dollar took my profit on there. Sneaky, sneaky. And there's our news release, which says oh wow, 3.8. Yeah, that was a beat, wasn't it? Pound falling down. Damn it, it took my profit too early. Boo, that's okay. Got other ones. Gold taking it on the nose right now. Oh man, that's a move. Gold taking it. Dollar yen well above that 109.5 now and moving higher. The euro, oof. Yeah, euro, ouch. Big drive down. I don't know how much of a pullback we're going to get on these moves. Probably maybe not much at all. A little bit of a pullback. Non-farm payrolls, hourly earnings, what do we got? Non-farm payrolls, holy cow. Well, previous was 164. The consensus was going to be 188, but the actual was 223. That is way better than expected. Wow. Holy cow. That is really that's quite the beat. And then we have average hourly earnings month over month. Wow, that is really high too. We had previous was 0.1. The consensus was going to be 0.2, but we actually had 0.3 as the actual. That's pretty significant. Yep, that is a big deal. Okay, so pound dollar trading down right now, and looks like it's trying to regain the 133 level. Don't believe that's probably going to hold at all. New Zealand dollar having a falling out here. If we follow the rule of angles, then the New Zealand dollar is going to test down at this angle. The Aussie dollar showing weakness still to the downside. Dollar yen, we are at the 109.63 level and moving higher. Gold is down. Gold is way down. And I'm moving my target areas in the MAM account actually. Where you at? There's the gold one. Dollar yen. Okay, got that one. Okay. Oh, euro did trade up a little bit. Looks like it's wanting to recapture some of that loss before traveling back down again. Where are we at? You are. And here's a return back to value where we get people back into the short more than likely, and we continue to drive lower. We'll watch this play out. All right. Again, these are the kind of conditions where if you don't have a position, don't take a position. You don't. These aren't the best times to be trading in non-farm payroll releases. They're always very, very chaotic. The moves are always very spastic. It's a hard one to trade, And you can see these whipsaws are pretty extensive. So, I mean, we went down to the low here at 1647, and we've retraced all the way back, almost 40 pips in about a 5-minute time period. So, yeah, you've got some big moves that happen on these kind of news releases that we gotta pay attention to, and they can often cause you a lot of anxiety that sometimes just isn't worth it. We'll see if a lot of these moves maintain. Gold is still showing weakness lower. It's still pushing down because we triggered that short that we wanted in gold that we had resting from yesterday. That short actually triggered, and we are currently below that trend line. That is a pretty bearish sign for yield gold. Going back to the euro here. Looks like we've calmed down a little bit after the move, and certainly showing that the push higher seems to have been halted for now. That is kind of a bullish forming candlestick so far, but I mean, we don't really want to put a lot of credence into it until after it's formed and after we see where prices may be going. When we're looking at gold is still moving down, and now the dollar yen is moving up a little bit more. We'll probably see the euro and the pound show off a little more weakness here. Maybe. Again, this may be priced in. We just don't know yet. Just a lot of things to look at where we're going. So, when we're looking at all of our markets today and looking at the behavior of a lot of these moves, we just really always got to expect that these huge drops or these huge rises, they always are met with a lot of return to value before continuing in a kind of direction that indicates the what was I saying? Oh yeah, indicating that there's a strong probability of a continuance to the direction it was going prior to. Although we've seen a lot of times in big economic news releases that we get these big moves prior to a news release that are contrary to the kind of mood and sentiment that you would expect, and then they kind of retrace. Well, today we had kind of a different one where we had a big drive prior down. Well, we had a drive up the day before, and then before the release we had a big drive down, which is mostly people just kind of exiting their positions. And this looks like a pretty classic what we just watched here. People buying the top and now they're if they bought the top, that was a safe entry. But if it doesn't hold that, if it doesn't move up higher, then those people that bought the top are going to feel a lot of pressure the lower we go. And certainly looking at this angle, this like I was saying, this entire zone here, this angle is a very hard area to trade. Gold just spiked up quite a bit. That was interesting. Where are we at? Gold. Yeah, gold had a bit of a bounce there. That's a big drive up. It's always fun to watch those happen. Probably not I think entering short on a return below is not a bad idea. Hard to say, just kind of watching it. Gold, dollar, yen came back down to the. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's see the dollar yen at this geometry. Found a lot of resistance up there, which is pretty normal. Aussie dollar. Wow, bounced right off that angle, that arc. That was crazy. That was kind of silly, actually. Then we have New Zealand dollars doing its thing, pound. Now I'm looking at probably putting in some shorts in the pound if we get back down to like 133.09. That might be a good area to look at going short again. Which is not very far away. I'm looking here. Okay. The euro. Euro from this one is the one I want to look at. Yeah, if we can't hold above that angle, man, it's going to be a bloodbath. A bloodbath to the downside. 116.7 is probably a good area to look at the short. Oh, adds a little bit of a rally there in the euro. Oh, I don't know if it's looking like it might be a little tired to the upside. We'll have to watch it. Ooh, the pound actually retracing even higher. And the dollar yen pretty much unchanged. it's not doing much at all. Gold kind of hovering and halted a little bit there. Aussie dollar, kind of the same thing, New Zealand dollar. I don't know, the pound might might be too extended high. I'll have to watch these. That's why it's never fun to trade the NFP. Too many wild moves. Oh, where was I? Did Bitcoin do anything during all that? No. Of course. Didn't do much at all. Not much. Just hanging out still. All right. Well, you know, I always say, again, like Fridays are probably the time I spend the least amount of time with you all, because Fridays they're kind of the worst days to trade. Not only is there always a lot of crazy news that comes out on Friday, but we also have a really reduced trade time. So between now and pretty much 10 and 11 a.m. Central Time, so for the next 2 to 3 hours is when we have actual, like, kind of good trading for the rest of the day and week. You know, every hour we go on, the less and less participation we have in the market, the less moves we get, the fewer times we have to catch trades. You know, we just have a lot of different kind of not different. We just have not very good trade opportunity on Fridays. So I tend to try and use the rest of the day. And really, here's what you should do. Let me get my stool over here. Because Fridays in the afternoon, at least if you're in the States or in Canada, because Fridays pretty much trading ends around lunchtime, it's a pretty good idea to spend that time to use your journal, to do your trade journal. Spend that time to do some education and learning, taking notes. Maybe play a little bit in the market replay, kind of, look over the trades that you've taken for the week and see which ones were good, which ones were bad, which ones need improvement, which ones you could have done better with. I guess that's the same thing. And that's what Fridays are good for. You don't have to trade every day. And Fridays should be a day where you can close out your week, both your trades and mentally, and then get prepared for the next trade period on the next week. All right? Anyways, short days. I did start the stream a little early before non-farm payroll. And plus, there's really not a lot to go on Fridays. I don't have any trades that I'm looking at taking except for cryptos. And I'm just going to say it's 75.60 again. And LTC USD. Those are the trades. Looks like gold is actually going to come down again. Doesn't look like it wants to maintain its level there. We'll have to see. Big bar on that pound. Oh my gosh. Dollar yen looking a little weak up there. What's that look like on the 4 hour? All rejected near the top of the cloud. Figures. Close proximity to this angle up here too, so things to keep our eyes on. Anyways, you guys have a good great rest of your trade day. Close out your week with the good attitude, and have a safe and restful weekend, and make sure that you take care of yourself and are rested, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. Make sure that you're ready to go on Monday. Have a great weekend. I'll talk with you all on Monday. Bye-bye.